What were your Alt F4 moments where the game did not want you to win? I've had so many recently. I call absolutely difficulty absolute BS for the things that get pulled, especially on stratagems. The other day I loaded into a game, heard the sound of an incoming attack. I immediately dodged before my screen was out of the black screen. Turn around to gunstrike. It turns out it was two Raveners, a Lictor and a Carnifex, immediately dead. Load in again in almost the same scenario. I played another game. Yeah, okay. Look, there's no harm in, if you see that BS and it makes you rage, there's no harm in playing another game. I personally make sure to play other games just so I'm not like burnt out on Space Marine 2. Whenever I am playing a different game, jump into Space Marine 2, I feel a bit refreshed. Not to mention it helps that the combat is very invigorating and difficult. So sometimes, yeah, the intense moments like this is what keeps me coming back to the game. However, I have to admit, some of these moments definitely need to be adjusted. Now, when it comes to absolute, I definitely would like to see what they were using here. I'd like to see their builds and everything. What was the spawns they had? It said, turns out 2 Raveners. Yeah, honestly, Raveners are becoming such an issue, man. I feel like Raveners always have these sneaky attacks, and yeah, sometimes you just can't get helped but get grabbed by them. Grabs, for me, if I was to answer this question, it's grabs, 100%. Especially grabs where you're just like walking on stairs and get insta-grabbed. Yeah, obviously, we can't say this enough. Grabs need to be changed. I think the devs have mentioned before that they want to adjust grabs, but yeah, they got a lot on their plate, man. Honestly, the devs take a lot into consideration when it comes to suggestions, and I feel like a lot of the stuff they are cooking, yeah, they might not have time to fix grabs. Not an excuse. I would like to see them fix grabs regardless, but that is probably why they're not fixed right now. But yeah, that said, with the absolute BS that can happen in this game... Oh, Biovores. You know what? No, Biovores stunning you by walking by? That's insane. It's not even the Spore Mines anymore. It's just Biovores walking by you and stunning you. That can be the most rage-inducing thing in this game. Grabs and, yes, Biovores stunning you just by simply existing. Those two things can definitely make me rage. I wouldn't Alt F4. The only time I would ever actually quit is if we really had, like, no chance and it was, like, directly in the beginning of an operation or something. If it's later on, and let's say I'm, like, last man standing, yeah, dude, I actually want to see that situation. It's very rare now that in hard stratagems, when you're, like, last man standing, it's very rare to kind of push through those moments, to be honest, but it really depends. There is a last man standing condition. So, hey, I would like to see that eventually. But yeah, it's either the entire team's alive or everyone's dead sometimes. So that can be a bit hard to navigate. But yeah, let's see what people are still struggling with enough to quit the game. I had a moment where it didn't load in my weapon. I switched to my pistol and legitimately had nothing in my hand. I tried to fire and nothing. I had to switch to my melee 3 times before it would shoot, and by that time it was over. This game is BS at times. I can handle not being good at the game, but when it just pulls the rug out from under you, there's nothing you can do no matter how good you are. Okay, so this bug is horrifying. The fact that you could just switch to your sidearm and it would disappear. This happened to me once. I am still unsure about how this happens. And I also thought the devs might have fixed this before, but obviously not 100% sure. So definitely let me know in the comments if you're still dealing with the invisible sidearm bug, because yeah, that could be pretty detrimental, to be completely honest. They switched to their melee weapon. Maybe they're playing tactical or something. But yeah, honestly, I'm not too sure if I would put bugs under the umbrella of the BS in the game that makes you quit, because technically this isn't really a dev-intended thing, right? However, I gotta be honest, yeah, maybe bugs should be considered, because, yeah, if you quit because of a bug, that does feel pretty BS. I do have to agree. Just not too sure if this is 100% accurate, but it depends. It depends. So yeah, let me know in the comments if this happens to you. If obviously this happens to you and you quit because of it, yeah, that sounds like some pretty big BS. Being stun-locked by the Vortex beast with it having 1% health and failing the mission in a different kind of frustration. Yeah, I've been there with the Vortex Beast essentially just snowballing the fight. So sometimes with Vortex Beast fights, you can have him figured out for 99% of the time. And yes, at that last moment, if he just lands one hit on you, it goes from, wow, I'm at full health and ready to snowball this fight, into, wow, I'm at 1 health and I'm about to get snowballed. It seriously can switch so fast with the Vortex Beast. I'm actually still kind of impressed with this boss's movesets. I think sometimes it's really hard to gauge whether it is playing aggressively or setting itself up for one of those AoE attacks. However, it does keep a very consistent beginning. So for me, I guess a lot of my error comes out in the first part of the fight, and then I start to clean it up. Fencing weapons are great against the Vortex Beast. I have had issues with repeated parries on heavy, but I still think duelists can help you out in this situation. Sometimes it really is just that you need to be frame perfect, and that can be kind of difficult to navigate. But yeah, when it comes to stun locking with the Vortex Beast, that is definitely a factor that you need to be aware of, because yeah, you can be winning the fight 99% of the time, and it only takes the Vortex Beast one hit to get you into lethal territory. And then things start to feel a little bit sweaty. And yeah, if you succumb to the pressure there, I can imagine that being pretty rage-inducing. But let's just be honest about stun locks. Stun locks in general are rage-inducing. But yeah, dude, right now, it's like we've talked about stun locks so often, and then we've seen the devs try to mitigate some of the stun locking, but still, stun locking is always going to be a factor in this game. And not to mention, to be completely honest, as long as stun locks aren't in the game, it's very easy to suggest healing. So, yeah, I've made this argument before. If we still have aggressive stun locks, if the assault class or the tactical, for whatever reason, if they were able to heal themselves, it still wouldn't make that big of a difference in higher difficulties. I've made that argument a lot, but I kind of stopped talking about stun locks so much, but still, stun locks are an issue, and not to mention we're kind of revisiting that topic here anyway. So yeah, Vortex Beast, stay on your guard until it is down, not until the last 2 seconds, until it is completely down. Assault's jump boost just flat out not firing while I was being mobbed, or Sniper Cloak not triggering despite me mashing it also while being mobbed. So this is an interesting comment because this is from somebody who said they quit the game because of it. And this is interesting because the Assault's jump boost has had some bugs recently. And then not to mention, there are also intended areas where you can't jump up in the air, like a ceiling. And not to mention, your crosshair has to make sure that it shows the yellow circle for the slam. So as long as you are, you have the area to jump up, and then you also see the circle, you should be good. However, I have heard some bugs about the assault class, and we've actually talked about those bugs, and still, it seems to be a wide situation for where these bugs can happen. I've heard some people saying the jump boost can stop cooldown if you dodge too much or something. Let me know in the comments if you know more information on that one. But yeah, as far as jumping up in the air, keep in mind ceilings will prevent you from doing that. Also, keep in mind if your crosshair doesn't show the yellow circle, you're not going to be able to jump up in the air. Now, with all that said, the sniper cloak not triggering definitely is something related to stun locks. And not to mention, you can clearly see the common element here of being mobbed. I think the Assault's jump boost, I still think you can get stun locked out of that as well. So potentially this can be just another stun lock issue. However, I did want to point out that there is currently some bugs with the Assault's jump boost. I haven't seen too many of that, to be completely honest. I normally just go for slams, so I haven't really been doing any dashing or, dash dodges or whatever. So ultimately, if using the jump boost dodge, if that is bugging out the cooldown, that is very unfortunate. I can see where bugs can make you 100% drop the game for a bit, for sure. But still, I can't really justify quitting the game because of a bug. I can, however, understand quitting the game from a stun lock. I do understand that one. So yeah, I'm going to say this is a stun lock issue for sure. A week ago, I was trying to reach Prestige 4 on Assault, and after 10 failed Ruthless matches, I went all the way down to Substantial, and as soon as I get down from a Biovore, I just turned the whole console off and went to bed. Trying to reach Prestige 4 on Assault, yeah, dude, honestly, this is like the roughest one, right? Because all of the Assault class's best perks are like deeper into his tree, so it's honestly kind of interesting how many people quit the game just because they played Assault. No, it's interesting, but it's also not good. It's also very disappointing because, yeah, the Assault class has been improved, but obviously the leveling experience has been a bit tougher. And not to mention, look, don't feel bad about failing Ruthless, especially Biovore. That's fair. But still, you got to keep in mind, Chaos Spawn, Ruthless without Chaos Spawn is a lower difficulty than Ruthless with Chaos Spawn. I could say the same for Biovores as well. So, yeah, the Ruthless we have now is not the Ruthless we had at launch. The new enemies definitely spiked the difficulty a little bit. The only time I've ever rage quit, the only time I didn't go through the whole loss and defeated screens, I'd be hypocritical to forgive myself and still be angry at others for leaving after being downed once. Oof. Okay. I understand. Yeah, I mean, look, we're talking about quitting scenarios here, so I understand, you know, just closing out the game after 10 failed runs. That's rough, dude. That is definitely rough. But honestly, the fact that you went through 10, more power to you. You actually don't understand how much better you are actually getting at the game. You're just getting pretty unlucky. But yeah, if you went down once, though, I really would hope that you waited for your teammate to pick you up, but you might also be having a bad string of teammates. That can happen. That can happen. I've never seen anyone say they failed 10 runs in a row before, though. I think even with weekly stratagems, jumping in with fully leveled characters, I think the most I've ever failed in a row was maybe 4? But yeah, that's like hard weeklies. And yeah, depending on the hard weekly, that could be good, actually. So, I guess it depends. But yeah, seeing people mention the Assault class and then mentioning that they quit the game, I don't like seeing that. I really don't. I really have fun with the Assault class, but it is unfortunate that it is a struggle for a leveling experience. And yeah, when the grind gets too much, that is probably where most people are quitting. But yeah, honestly, you gotta let me know if any of these are relating to you, or if there's a moment that you quit in the game and you just either never picked it back up or it took you a long time to get back into the game. Obviously, if you're not playing the game, it's unlikely you're going to find this video, right? But still, we've all been there, so I definitely wanted to show some players who may have been struggling with some things in this game, hey, we're all struggling with things in this game, to be completely honest. But yeah, this is interesting. Another honorable mention that I don't really want to get into right now is loading screens. But yeah, I have done that, to be completely honest. I have left loading screens because they took too long. But that's all that really is to say about it. Not too sure what they can do about it. Hey, maybe if loading screens continue to be a problem, we can talk about it. But we have talked about that before. And to be completely honest, the conclusion to that was not a lot can be done until Space Marine 3. Also, if you're queuing up, what really kills loading screens, by the way, is people who are just sitting at the battle barge AFK or queuing into teams who aren't ready for the hard stratagem or whatever. A lot of the times, the loading screens we are dealing with are player error loading screens, but sometimes they're not. And sometimes they take too long, and yeah, then I will close the game, reopen it, and yeah, that literally will take faster. That literally will be faster than waiting for a loading screen that's taking too long that potentially won't even load. So, I guess I did have a fair amount to talk about with that. But yeah, that's pretty much all we can really touch on when it comes to frustrating moments that people are quitting the game over. This is year 2. Stun locking has been kind of adjusted. Grabs are still horrible. But Biovores, Spore Mines have been nerfed. I just wish they didn't have so much stun potential. Absolute spawning extremists. I think that's just something people need to get used to. But yeah, let me know in the comments what issues you've ran into recently that made you want to quit. And thanks for watching.